Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the Matthew Street channel. I am your host, Matthew Street. Truly appreciate you being here. And folks, it's time to say Happy St. Patrick's Day. Today is March 17th, 2024. Wear and oh the green. You know, we got to wear the green today, drink the green beer, Erin go bra. What else? You know, may the road rise to meet you. May the sun always be at your back and all that good. Oh, the wind be at your back and the sun shine on you brightly. All that good stuff to be Irish and St. Patrick's and all that good stuff and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and leprechauns and all that fun stuff and shamrocks. Here's a shamrock right on my shirt here. Folks, I love St. Patrick's Day. I just think it's a fun, joyous day, a day to celebrate and have a good time. So I thought, well, how can I incorporate the Beatles into St. Patrick's Day? Now, I know some of the Beatles had a little Irish in them, okay? You know, I didn't do a genealogy here, so I don't know which ones, but I know a couple of the Beatles have a little Irish here and there. I'm a quarter Irish, okay? My dad was Scotch-Irish, so he's half Scotch, half Irish, so I'm a quarter Irish. Anyway, so I've got some validity here. I've got, I'm legit as an Irishman, so to speak. I got a little bit. I got a quarter, I got one in there. Anyway, folks, how can we incorporate being Irish and St. Patrick's Day with the Beatles? Well, I did a little bit of research and I looked up how many Beatle releases were released during March of a particular year. March is St. Patty's month as far as I'm concerned. So I grabbed a few things. Now, this isn't all encompassing. I may have missed a couple of things here and there. There's one that was definitely released in March and I can't find my copy of it. I only have one vinyl copy of it kind of beat up and I'll start with that one and we'll go from there, but I couldn't find it. I know it's around somewhere, but I got so many records here, there, and everywhere. Hey, that could be a song. All right, so the first thing I want to tell you about, and the one I couldn't find, it's beat up. I never play this album, but it's Ringo's Sentimental Journey. Now, this is a tweener, so to speak, because in the US, it was released in April of 1970, but in the UK, Sentimental Journey was released in March of 1970. So I'll give that one to Ringo, but I couldn't find my copy, Sentimental Journey. Okay, now, sadly, two of the Beatles, John Lennon, I could find no March releases for John Lennon. I looked at albums. I didn't do singles in this, folks. It could be a single here or there for the Beatles or the four solo Beatles, but I didn't do singles because it's too encompassing and too time-consuming, and I didn't do singles, too many of them. So I just did like EPs, compilation albums, live albums, the big stuff. And anyway, what I could find for John was really nothing solo-wise in March, okay? Now, George Harrison, same thing. I couldn't find anything, albums or big releases in March. It could be singles, but I didn't go that route. Now, Paul McCartney, though, he's got a, let's go back to Ringo first. So, Ringo, Sentimental Journey, March in the UK of 1970. He also has Ringo Rama, which came out in March of 2003. So there's one for Ringo. We got another one for Ringo. Postcards from Paradise came out in March of 2015. So give that one to Ringo. He also has some album, I don't have it. It's called Tour 2003. Maybe some of you might know of that one. If I get ambitious, I'll put it up here in the corner. But it was released in March of 2004. Tour 2003 for Ringo. Now, Paul McCartney, he's got some good stuff here. Looks like Paul McCartney has Speed of Sound, was released in March of 1976. So he's got that one for Paul. We've also got London Town, which came out in March of 78. Paul was on a roll there for a couple of years with March releases. And the other one I could find for Paul was Back in the World Live, March 17th. This was actually on St. Patrick's Day. The only one I could find actually on the day. Paul's Back in the World Live, March 17th, 2003. A fabulous, fabulous live album from Paul. If you've never heard it or don't have it, get Back in the World Live. It's fantastic, okay? And he released that right on St. Patrick's Day. Pretty cool, Paul. Thank you. All right, let's go over to the Beatles now. The Beatles, I got a couple of little things here. First, I have one EP I could find that was released in March by the Beatles, and it's the Yesterday EP. This was released in March of 1966. So there's one for the Beatles. All right. Now, in 1985, in March, it's just kind of an aside one. This little VHS was released. It was the making of a Hard Day's Night documentary called You Can't Do That, hosted by Phil Collins, featuring a previously cut performance of You Can't Do That, but it's the making of a Hard Day's Night on this VHS. Who remembers this thing? This was released in March of 1995, I want to say. 95, did I have that right? Help me out, fans. But that's a St. Paddy's month release for the Beatles. Okay, another St. Paddy's month release for the Beatles are the two Past Masters CDs when they originally came out. Not the double album vinyl that came out later, or later remasterings and all that, but when they originally came out, these were released in March of 1988. All right, so that's one for the Beatles. And, oh, I got a couple of films that were released for the Beatles. Now, when the Beatles first appeared at the Washington Coliseum in early 1964 in February, in March of 1964, the CBS film crew who had filmed this performance, this was broadcast in March, mid-March of 1964. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I'll give that one to the Beatles, St. Paddy's release. And also, Shea Stadium. Did I show the back of this, by the way? I thought that's a pretty cool image of the boys in Washington. Shea Stadium, okay, famous show, August 65. This was filmed and shown on ABC in the US and the BBC overseas. This was broadcast, this little film, TV film, March of 1966. It made it in. So this I consider a St. Paddy's release, St. Paddy's month for the Beatles. Love them running onto the subway there near the stadium. Cool little graphic. And there it goes flying. But anyway, we got to give that one to the Beatles. Now, let's go with some Beatles actual albums and stuff. All right, I just got a pile here, so I'm going to do it randomly, folks. The Beatles Rarities. I didn't pull my British one, but I pulled the US one. These, the UK and British Rarities albums, were released in March of 1980. So that's a St. Paddy's release for the Beatles, okay? Also, not the best album. A lot of people love the music, but can't stand the cover. Well, I can't stand the release in general. But the Beatles' Real Music was released in March of 1982. And I've got the inner sleeve there showing all the U.S. albums. But March of 82, St. Paddy's month release for the Beatles. Got to give it to them. And here's another comp that was released in March. Funny, because 3 of them came out, but the only one that came out in a St. Paddy's month, March, was Volume 2. Anthology 2, did you know, came out in March of 1996. Yes, it did. And actually, this was kind of a close one because this was the day after St. Patrick's Day. March 18th, 1996, Anthology 2 was released. And there you have it. So that's a good one. And here's another one. The Early Beatles. Yes, that famous U.S. compilation album. I call it a comp because it came out like 2 years after the original music came out. But Capitol threw this together and put it out in March of 1965. Beatles, the Early Beatles. So that's one. And last but not least, and I'll be out of here, folks, is where it all started for the Fab Four. And much of the music is on here. Haha. But in March of 1963, the only official Beatles album, the way the Beatles wanted their albums released in March, is their first one. Please Please Me was released in March of 1963. And there you have it, folks. 10 minutes. Look at that. I'm out of here. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. And let's do it. Let's get joyous and happy here. A little purple Matthew Street. My favorite blue Matthew Street. And folks, I even have the red Matthew Street today. So what do you say? All right, we're ending on a high note. We got all the colors. We're showing our colors today. We're showing all the Matthew Street glasses. The glasses I love so much. And you should get yourself a pair. Be like Matthew Street. Wear the colors. Hey, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I'm out of here. 10 minutes. Love you all. Bye-bye.